Okay, this is the in-depth video talking about the curriculum that I have at the middle school. Let me start the slideshow here. We're going to talk about several things in this video, and it's all based around what I call the rank system, which is a system based on kids playing points. I'm going to talk about that rank, what that rank system is, and everything else is tied to it. My curriculum is tied to the ranks: sequencing, pacing, practice motivation, content of band rehearsals all revolves around the rank system. In fact, my classroom management even revolves around the rank system. It allows for individualized, differentiated instruction and tracking, and it also is how I do my grading. So my grading is actually all very much put on the kid's shoulders. It has nothing to do with behavior at all. I don't think that a kid needs to be graded on behavior in a music room, just like they're not graded on behavior in a math room. They're graded on how well they're completing their assignments, and that's what this rank system helps us to do. Okay, first of all, a little background. Several years ago, I kind of undertook a humongous quest to figure out what curriculum I wanted to have with my beginner bands. To be quite honest, I don't feel like college prepared me for being a middle school band director. Yeah, we talked about how to get a kid to make a buzz on a brass mouthpiece, but we didn't talk anything about what do you do for 3 years with those kids? What level of music do you have them play? What's involved in each level of music? So I did some hunting and I found this. You might want to look it up on the internet, the American Band College Music Grading Chart. And this is a list of the things that a piece has in it at different grade levels. It's how they grade a piece of music. So you can search for this and you can see exactly what's in a grade level 1, exactly what's in a grade level 2. So by the end of my first year of instruction, I want some of my kids to be playing at a grade level 2, which means they need to know all of the stuff that's in those first 2 columns there. I took it a step further and I found this book, which is awesome, Teaching Wind and Percussion Instruments. It basically is just a breakdown of every single little item that a kid needs to know and at what point they need to know it in order to perform music. And it does it by grade level, actually year level. So like if you may start in 4th grade or 5th grade, or like I do, I start in 6th grade even. But in year 1, it tells you what items need to be focused on. Year 2, what items need to be focused on. It takes every instrument individually and it shows the different notes that you should know at each grade level, different technique on those different instruments, ensemble skills. So what I did was I just went through and I extracted everything that it said that a first year student needs to know. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this page. If you'd like to pause it, you can, but you can see it has some ensemble performance things that kids need to learn about, the different rhythms. Yes, this does go into compound meter, and I know that sounds daunting for a first year band, but yes, if you watch my videos this year, you'll see that we actually go into compound meter, and we will talk about 16th notes. In fact, the kids are going to get extremely fluent in reading 16th notes, and we talk about 8th note, 2 16th notes, or the opposite of that. And we talk about dotted 8th, 16th. Of course, then it talks about meter, tempo, different vocabulary words for melody, different intervals that kids need to know about and be able to identify, key signatures for the first year band, scales, phrases, different elements of harmony and form and expression. I covered pretty well all of this in the first year. And finally, some articulation, interpretive devices, and historical information. I will say that one of my huge weaknesses is historical information. I spend a lot of time talking about performance, and I admit that I need to talk more about historical information. We will talk about march style quite a bit, and we will talk about interpretation, but I don't get into the history that I need to. And critical thinking. So those are the major things that this book says that we need to talk about in our first year, and I make an attempt to do that. Now, this is my founding philosophy, and I stole it from Ed Lisk. He is the author of the Creative Directors series. If you have not read that, that is one of the staples that every band director, I believe, needs to read. It is one of the foundational series of our profession. And in it, he says that, and this is a quote about practicing to learn something or practicing something already learned, and you can try to decide for yourself which category do you fall into. Practicing to learn something always ends in failure. Learning cannot occur without understanding the process of a particular task. The difference is not practicing to learn something, but to reinforce skill and knowledge by practicing something that has been learned or taught by a teacher. Let me explain that. And let me also preface it by saying I was on the wrong end of this for about 5 years of my teaching until I read this, and oh man, did it ever make a world of difference to me. Let me explain a little bit. Take the very first day of band camp. There are a couple of different philosophies and ways that you can go about introducing materials in this very first day of camp. The first one would be to have the kid put the instrument together, show them how to do that, and then first thing you do is you plop a book down in front of them and you explain every single thing on that page. You explain what a staff is, you explain what a whole note is, how to count, where that note is on the page. Like if it's a saxophone player playing a D, you explain how you know that that's a D on the page. You show them the fingering for it, you try to have them play it, and they fail miserably. I know it because I've been there. That's how I started teaching. And then you spend the rest of the year in that same rut, introducing new materials, and they fail miserably, and you don't know why they can't grasp it. Well, the problem is, my problem was I was going at it backwards. My new philosophy is never give somebody a piece of written music that they don't already know how to do physically. And how that would look in band camp, and it's kind of the basis for the book that I wrote, is the kids start by learning to do something. Like the brass players, for instance, will start by learning to go back and forth between the low note, say on trombone in first position, and the high note in first position. They learn how to go back and forth between these two. They learn how to play all the notes in between. They learn how to tongue 4 quarter notes on each one of these notes. And only once they're able to do that, and they're able to speak fluently on their instrument, then you put a piece of music down in front of them and you say, hey, what you just did, here's what it looks like. And that is so much easier for the kid. They're not trying to figure out what the notation means. You just told them what the notation means. It means exactly what they just did. This is what it looks like. And you know what? They can play it perfectly the very first time. And I start my band camp out that way, and we follow that procedure for the rest of the year. They learn how to do something, and then they learn what it looks like, and it makes a world of difference. I especially do this with rhythm, and I'm going to say that I ripped this off from David Newell. I had a conversation with David Newell just last week, and he said, quit saying that you're stealing my stuff. He said, you're not stealing my stuff. You're telling everybody that it's my stuff. What you're doing is you're benefiting from my stuff. So I'll say I have truly benefited from David Newell's book, Teaching Rhythm, because in his book, what he does is he teaches you to teach a student how to play a rhythm before you teach them what it actually means, what it looks like, the theory behind it. If you're teaching 16th notes, for instance, you have a kid copy you for a couple of weeks, just going da, 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 and they play it back, and they get fluent at it. They learn what that sounds like. And eventually, you start having them repeat it while you're flashing the rhythm on the TV screen. And as they're playing it, they're looking up and they're seeing what it looks like. And they're not having any problem playing it because they already know how to play it. It's about the equivalent of giving a book to a child who cannot speak and saying, hey, read this to me. Obviously, they're not going to read it to you. They can't talk. So what you have to do first, you have to teach the kid to talk. And once they can talk fluently, you learn the fundamentals of reading. Now, it's kind of odd that as music teachers, I myself did this, and I'm sure a lot of you did it. You put a written assignment down in front of the kid, and you say, here, play it, when they don't even know how to do it in the first place. It's the same thing. So here is the problem that we can get into as teachers. We can set off on the wrong foot at the beginning, give them the written page, tell them to play it, they fail miserably, they go home, they practice it, they're confused, they come back and they've learned it wrong. You spend the entire next lesson trying to tell them what they did was wrong and having them unlearn it. You run out of time by the end of the lesson, you only have a couple minutes left, and you say, oh, by the way, next time I want you to do these 16th notes. They go like this, da 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 da. All right, take it home, practice it. The kid has no clue what they're doing. They go home, they learn it wrong, and they reinforce it by playing it over and over and over and over wrong. They come to the next lesson, they still don't know what they're doing. You spend the entire lesson having them unlearn it, and then you're back in the exact same spot. You have 2 minutes left, and you say, oh, by the way, here's your assignment, do this. And it's a vicious cycle that goes the entire year. I know, I've been there. So you have to get ahead of the game. You have to get the kids performing, and then showing them what it looks like. And you always have to make sure that they understand the material that you're giving them, before you send them home to practice it. Otherwise, you're setting them up for failure. Okay, my rank system. There are 10 ranks. Each rank has 10 points. A point is just an assignment, a simple assignment, usually about 8 measures from the Essential Elements book. Points can also be scales from memory, and 1 point might be several scales, might be 5 different scales, major scales, chromatic scales in different enharmonic spellings. And as you go through the ranks, these chromatic scales get longer in their range. And there are also vocabulary tests. The vocabulary words are correlated with the assignments in the rank. There are intonation questions. There's sight reading, questions about instrument maintenance. And there's also some counting on every rank. And my counting system is 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. And using this counting system, they have to count off some of the points. As a kid plays something perfectly, with no rhythm mistakes, no note mistakes, we mark it out of their book. Every kid has a book with a page per rank, and we just scribble out the points as they go. These ranks are correlated to different grade levels of music. Now, I will say that the first 4 ranks cover the entire first book of Essential Elements. Rank 5 through 8 covers the second book of Essential Elements, and then 9 and 10 covers the third book. And as you progress through these ranks and you're mastering these songs, you are coming to a point where you can fluently sight read at a certain grade level. If you pass rank 1, you've made it and you've mastered the first 12 pages in Essential Elements. You can easily sight read a beginner level song. Likewise, you pass rank 3, you're about 3/4 of the way through the Essential Elements book, you can now sight read a grade 1. You get all the way to rank 10, you're able to sight read a grade 3. And I say mastery because, again, you have to play these points perfectly. It's, to me, not a matter of a kid coming and playing something and failing it and you give them an F and say, okay, let's go on to the next thing. No, they should get as many tries as they need to get these things right till the point where they're able to master something. And it's not until they master it until I let them go on. That way, kids go at their own pace. I'm going to have kids in my program that are on rank 8. Other kids are still going to be on rank 1. But the thing is, the kids that are on rank 1 aren't being expected to play at rank 3 yet because they're still trying to master these things in rank 1. And the thing is, they can play perfectly all of the things that they've already passed, which means that they do have things that they're able to get an A+ at. It would be the same as taking a math test, failing it, and the teacher saying, okay, study it again, prove that you're able to do this material, take the test again, you get an A+, we'll give you an A+. To me, that is a sign of true mastery of a concept, and it's not just saying, hey, you got a C, let's go on to the next thing. I think that's very important. Here's an example of one of my ranks. This is rank 1, and it says play line 3 on page 1, 6th grade winter warm-up. What that is a scale, just a B-flat scale, and for the clarinets, it doesn't go above the break, and it goes in whole notes. A couple of easy counting of half notes and whole notes there for point number 2, and then some of the major songs in Essential Elements from pages 4 to 12, covering eighth notes, half notes, whole notes, and the kids have to count these things until they master them, and then they're able to sight read at a beginner level. I track everybody individually. This is a booklet for one student. It goes with them for all 3 years. You can see I'm flipping a page there and showing that every page covers 9 weeks. And as you go down the page, you're going from lesson to lesson. It has a date over on the left-hand side. The assignment's what you see written in the middle. Sometimes this kid was playing through her stuff no problem. So all I was writing was the assignment. Now, sometimes I'll have kids that are having issues with things, like tonguing, for instance. I'll put a note there that they're having problems with it, and I need to work on it with them in the next lesson. So you can always see what you worked on the previous lesson, what you need to be working on. In this way, you can give individualized instruction to everybody because everybody's at their own point and place in this curriculum. And all you have to do is glance up at the top. The top is divided up into groups of 10 points, and you can see the 10 ranks there. And then as they pass a point, I just simply put an X through it. So I can see where they're at, and I can see what they've skipped, and I can see what they need to be working on next. And that doesn't take a whole lot of planning because the kid comes in for a lesson, all I got to do is glance at that, and within about 2 seconds, I know exactly where we're at in the curriculum, exactly what they've done, and exactly where we're going. Every kid's in a different spot. I've got 140 kids, and every one of them is right at the level they need to be at. In this way, the more advanced kids can go at their own pace and not get held back by everybody else. And the kids that are moving at a slower pace aren't going to get discouraged because they're trying to do the same stuff as the more advanced kids. So then I group the kids by ability level into their sectionals. Another thing I try to do with my sectionals is I actually make it a 7-day rotation instead of a 5-day rotation. That way I can get smaller groups for my sectionals, and I teach lessons from 3 o'clock till 5:30 every day after school, which ends up being about 20 extra sectionals. I'm lucky because the school pays me for that. In fact, any teacher in the school can teach whatever they want after school, and they'll get $25 an hour. So I'm making a couple $100 a week doing this. The kids are getting free lessons out of it. They're getting private lessons out of it. But I will say, if the school ever quits paying us for that, I'm still going to do it because, oh man, it makes a world of difference. Okay, here's where it's going to get theoretical. This is a chart showing the number of points that a kid has. The points are on the left-hand side. In fact, the stuff that you can't read there on the far left at the bottom says rank 1, above that rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5, rank 6. Then in the first column, that's just starting at 1 at the bottom and going up to 60 up at the top. Those are point numbers, and you can see they're grouped in groups of 10 for each rank by the bold lines there. So that's what's going on the left. Down on the bottom, that is the numbers go from 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9. That's week 1, week 2, week 3, up to week 9 in a quarter. Okay, so we have all 4 quarters there and which week we're at in the quarter. And on the far left, we have band camp and summer, because some of the kids are going to come to band camp in summer. So this is how I grade my students. I have a set number of points they need to reach in this curriculum in order to get an A. And you can see this blue line here shows exactly where an A student should be throughout the course of the year. I don't grade for the very first 9 weeks because they don't meet as a class. In fact, it's a pullout at that point. They don't get a grade on the report card. So what I say is they have to start at 0 points, which is kind of a theoretical thing. Most of the kids are going to have about 10 or 15 points by the time they reach quarter 2. But here on the chart for my grading, they start at 0. By the end of the 9 weeks, they should be done with rank 1 in order to get an A. Now, some of the kids aren't going to be there. Some of them are going to be on this green line here, and they're going to be below that. They're not moving as fast as I'd like them to, so they're going to get a B. There's our C kids, and our D kids, and F would be below that. Now, I will say that I have very few B, C, and D students. I might just have 1 or 2 D students in a band of 40 to 60. And these are kids that don't practice, and not only do they not practice, they just aren't getting it. Or maybe they are practicing and they're still just not getting it. You won't have very many of those, hopefully. I never have in the past several years. Now, there will be a couple of B and C kids, maybe 5 to 10, but then the rest of the band, we'll say like 40 to 50 of them are going to be at the A level or above. Yes, there is an above. There's my above. I call these kids my honor students. This is what a typical honor student is going to do through the course of the year. They're going to start with camp at the beginning of the year. They may or may not take lessons, but if they do take lessons, they're probably going to get up to about the end of rank 1, which is the end of page 12 in Essential Elements, by the end of the summer. Then when they start the school year, they're already playing at a point where they could sight read beginner level music in band. And then it just shows where they go from there. I like them to get to about a sight reading of a grade 1.5 by the end of the year. All right, next what I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to use this scale here for giving out grades, which is awesome because I can justify the grade of a D that I give to a kid. If a parent were to ever ask why the kid got a D, I can say, well, because their points fell on this red line right here, and that's what they got. But I have 2 different bands. One of the bands is the main band that all of the 6th graders are in, and it's this black line right here, labeled band. The band is playing at this grade level, and at any given week during the school year, you can look and see what point we're working on in this curriculum. Now, the A-level kids are kids who probably don't practice, but they're smart, and they're able to follow along with what's going on in class. And you'll notice that this black line is just a couple of points ahead of them. And the reason for that is I'm pulling them along at the level of the black line there, what we're practicing on in class, and they're keeping up with it. They're not learning this stuff at home. They're learning it in band, and then at their lesson, they're playing it back to me, and they're able to play it. The majority of the kids fall on that line. One of the things I used to do early on in my career was I would get really mad at a kid who didn't practice, and I wouldn't teach them how to play that song that I'd assigned to them. I'd say, you didn't work on it. We're not going to talk about it. You're going to take it home. You're going to work on it, and then you're going to come back and you're going to play it for me. And this might go on for a month. The kid learns nothing in a month. I finally came to the realization that, first of all, my job's title is teacher. I'm supposed to be teaching this kid. If they're not going to learn it on their own, then my job is to teach it to them. So if they come into their lesson and they haven't practiced their material, my job is to practice it with them there in that sectional. And at the end of the sectional, they may be able to play it for me, in which case I'll mark off the point and I'll give them another assignment that they may not work on, and then I'll help them with that one. That's frustrating, but that's life. That's the way it is, and you got to work with those kids. And they're going to stay right there at the black line. Okay, there's another band, though, that meets. What I did is I took one of my sectional times every day, and instead of seeing a small group, I decided I'd see all of the honor band kids at that time. And there's usually, I try to strive for about 20 of these kids. The reason for that being, in 6th grade, if I have 20 honor students, then in 7th and 8th grade, when I combine them, I'll have 40 honor students, which is a nice size wind ensemble. So this honor band is actually going to start on the 3rd quarter, and there it is right there. They start at the level that the regular band was at, but they soon start going faster and faster and accelerate up to the point where it crosses the level that they're able to sight read and moves into the area that's a little harder for them. And that would be the grade level 2 music that they have to really strive for, but they're able to get. Now, something else that's really important about all of this is my philosophy on band itself, the class. I do not believe, and it's not the way that I run my curriculum, that band should be a time for learning technique and trying to learn new elements in a song, not at the beginner level. I will say that in my 2nd and 3rd year band, we do a whole lot of technique drill, trying to get our fingers flying, but not my 1st year. My philosophy for the 1st year is, you'll notice that we don't even start until quarter 2, and we start at 0 points. Well, everybody's past that already. Most of the kids, by the time that we start on that 2nd quarter, are already done with rank 1, meaning they're at about a page 12 level. But we start back at the very beginning, which is page 4. It's easy for every single person in the band. Everyone in the band is able to do that. So what we do on the very first day is we talk about expectations for behavior, and then we drill these really easy songs and we talk about ensemble concepts, starting together, ending together, counting together, having an ensemble pulse. We talk about balance, blend, intonation right from the very first lesson, and we'll progress slowly at a rate that is below where everybody is in their sectional. So this music is never hard for them, and they're always focusing on ensemble concepts instead of on their individual technique. They're going to advance in their technique in their sectional, but in band time, they're learning about how to play well as an ensemble. We're also going to do a ton of sight reading, and the sight reading is going to be below the level that everybody is in their private lessons. This makes things really easy. Now, I said that this has to do with classroom management. Well, the simple fact of it is, if you give kids something that's way over their heads, they're going to start talking. They're going to disengage. Not only are they going to be asking questions to each other, some of them are just going to quit thinking altogether, and they're just going to start talking about something else, and you've lost them. But under my method here, I know exactly what facts, what knowledge every single one of my 140 kids has, what they're able to do, what they're not able to do, and whenever I give instruction to the class, I know which kid's going to know what I'm talking about and which kid's going to be struggling with what I'm talking about. If I pass out a piece of music, I know that this kid over here isn't going to know what this particular note is because I know where they're at in the rank system and we haven't covered that note yet. So I can squelch all of the problems we're going to have ahead of time and say, hey, you over there, this note's fingered like this, okay? And then we go ahead and play the song. That helps tremendously with classroom management because everybody's focused, everybody's engaged, everybody knows what they're doing, and the minds are on what the task at hand. So, what are we going to do in full band? Rhythm drill every single day. I talked about David Newell's method, and this is only 2 minutes a day. And this is very important for getting rhythmic literacy. I could go on forever about that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to show you the videos of it whenever class starts, and I'll let the videos speak for themselves. Simple scale warm-ups every day. Chorales, like I said, talking about ensemble concepts. We talk about ensemble concepts every single day and try to get good balanced blend, tone pyramid. My beginner band kids know all about the tone pyramid and how to change tone color. And we talk about key signatures because of these chorales. We drill the points that are at the level indicated on the chart. So all I have to do is look at the chart and see what points we're supposed to be working on that day. We sight read below the level that the band is at on this chart, and we work on music that is at the level that the band is at on the chart, meaning that'll be the stuff that we are playing for our concert. Lots of sight reading, lots of playing music at the band's grade level. For honor band, the third quarter, I actually am lucky that I'm able to get 5 to 10 7th or 8th graders to come in with us, and they sit in with the honor band students, and they're able to answer questions. We use the Essential Musicianship for Band Fundamental Ensemble Concepts book, and this reinforces ensemble concepts while simultaneously teaching the full chromatic scale. So it's going to talk about tone quality, balance and blend, starting and stopping together, but it's also going to introduce the chromatic scale up and down. Then, quarter 4, I do that same book one more time with the kids who aren't in the honor band. I don't have chair placement. The upper level kids actually are interspersed with the lower level kids, and it's every lower level kid has somebody beside them that knows what they're doing, and they can ask these people questions. And the ones who have already been through that and have learned the chromatic scale then are able to teach the kids beside them. There's always teachers sitting in the room that are ahead of the rest of the class. Also, I said that this is all based off the Essential Elements books. Essential Elements has an entire series of music that is correlated to the different pages in their series. For instance, there's a lot of music at the page 8 to page 11 area. So if kids are all to page 18, say in their rank system, then I can pull out a song correlated with page 12 and we can sight read it, and I know that every single person in the band knows everything that's in that piece of music. And then we're working on sight reading. We're not working on anything other than sight reading, and we're working on sight reading getting a good tone quality, which is quite a feat. And this just gets us through year 1, and that's what I'm going to cover in this video series for the rest of the year. You can see all of this in action and how it plays out. And the following year, I plan to show you what you can then do with a group that has been through this curriculum and is starting at a grade 2 level, and show you how that in the second year you can actually get them up to a grade 4 level. Finally, motivation to practice. One of the things I tell my 6th graders is they can come in before school, and that's from 7:45 to 8, and the other teachers are okay with this. They can come into the band room as long as they're going to play, and I'll usually have 20 to 30 kids that come in voluntarily to do this, and what they're doing is they're coming in and they're playing points for me. Some of the kids come in and say they want vocabulary tests. Some of them come in and they want to play scales for me from memory. Some of them just have questions about the points that they're doing, and they're always working on something that's coming up in their curriculum. So they're always working on something that makes them better and advances them. They're not just playing random stuff. So those kids are actually getting about 20 minutes worth of practice every single day. It would be the equivalent of them practicing an hour and a half a week. And that's just what they do at the school. They'll also go home and they'll play some stuff. These kids will record themselves at home and they'll send me emails of themselves playing points. I've had kids call me on the phone and play for me so I can give them feedback, which I tell them they can do that. That was my own idea. I really like it whenever the kids do that. It just shows me that they're wanting to get ahead. I never tell them how many points they have to get an A. That way a kid might pass the right number of points within a couple of weeks, but they'll keep on trying and trying and trying, and they don't know it, but they've gotten an A like 6 times. But I like that. That's what I want. I've got rewards for them. Over the summer, some of them are taking private lessons for a half an hour, and it's $12. If they practice for an hour a week, I will donate $5 of that back to a local food pantry. And if they practice 2 hours, then I'll donate 10 of that to a local food pantry. So a kid can earn $80 over the course of the summer just from playing through their curriculum. And I'm posting some videos soon that the kids can use to help them with this practice over the summer, little instructional videos so they can move forward in their curriculum. Also, if they have smart music, they can use smart music to pass off their points, which smart music is only $4 per student this year. I'm getting that for all of my kids, and they can practice at home and they can send their stuff and get points over smart music. There's rewards, other rewards. Every 9 weeks, if a kid passes a rank, I pull that rank out of their rank booklet and I put their name on it and I put it in a hat for a drawing. I've got a stack of gift cards up at the front of the room. Some of them are $10 and some of them are $20. And nobody knows which one's 10 and which one's 20. But every 9 weeks, somebody is going to win the drawing and pull out a gift card. There will also be cards for whoever got the most points that 9 weeks and things like that. I'm going to tell you how I'm funding that here in a minute. It's not coming out of my own pocket. We do parties that are free to the kids. Every 9 weeks, you have to pass a certain number of points, which means they can use their smart music or they can just do this during their sectionals or before or after school. But they have to earn these points. They have to move further ahead in their curriculum in order to go to these free parties. And the parties can include things like a swimming party at the local pool, skating party, bowling party, movie party in the band room with some food. If you go to the movie party, but you got extra points on top of what you needed, you can get a free candy bar, a free drink, just depending on how many points you get. So the kids are earning these parties, and then an even bigger party at the end of the year if they were able to be eligible for all 4 of the quarters parties. This year we went to Holiday World. In fact, we do that every year at the end of the year with the 8th grade. I'm not sure what we're going to do at the end of this year, but I'm thinking about that right now. So parties help the kids to get motivated to practice. The rewards help them to get motivated to practice, winning some money. Grades, of course, is a motivation. Every kid starts the year or the quarter off with me with an F because they have 0 points, and then they have to earn their A. Therefore, I do not post my grades on the internet, and I've passed that with administration. They've said it's okay because otherwise all the parents would be calling me and trying to figure out what was wrong with your kid. And finally, they want to get into the honor band, so they're motivated to practice to get more points so they can get into the honor band. All right, that is a whole lot of information. I'm going to be posting more videos throughout the school year so you can actually see this in process. I hope you join me for that. Feel free to contact me and message me if you'd like. If you have any questions or you'd like to see some more of my materials, I welcome that kind of thing. I will say that I'm getting kind of bogged down here lately. I think I had about 2,000 visits to my site just in the last 2 days. And today alone, I've gotten probably 30 to 40 people messaging me asking me questions. So that being said, if I don't answer you right away, don't take it personally. I'll try to get to you as quick as I can. I do have a publisher that's looking at some of these materials. So if you want to download any of this information as quickly as you can before it becomes not free anymore, you might want to do that. All right, thanks a lot.